morning and welcome to Northern Lights Spiritual Center. Northern Lights Spiritual Center is a community of
people.
Oh, yeah, I was asking for a new space to fill in. Community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. Northern Lights Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. Good job there with this anthem. So, our opening song was written and composed by Ron and Carol Harris in this very room. Please join me if you're here, and please join me from afar, although I won't be able to hear you. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room. So for this morning's meditation, I just ask us to settle into our seats, into our chairs. Feet on the ground. If you like, palms in an upright posture or holding the sleeves of the arms of the chair. And start with a deep breath in. And you may note the sound of the heartbeat in the background. So with your next breath in, you may want to bring one or two hands to your chest, to your heartbeat. Be aware of your own beating heart. And as the breath comes in, to let yourself simply be with all that is for you right in this moment. Just notice the feelings. Notice the thoughts. Notice the reactions, the judgments. And allow yourself, give yourself the permission to just let them go by. And if you stick with any of them, if any of them feel really compelling, just hold it for a moment and then let it go. And just be with what is. So what is the sense? What is the feeling of just being with your breath? What is the sense of simply being with our heartbeat? Do we notice if anything is pressing us? pressing us for attention. What is it like to simply let ourselves be with that press? As we're being with that press for attention, how much ease or how much difficulty is there to just be present to it? How much do we simply perhaps try to categorize it, to fit it into a particular kind of thought, or a particular kind of feeling? But for just this moment, what if we simply let it be what it is? That we let go of that habitual impulse to say, oh, it's this, and to put it into a box. Feelings arise with the thought of simply being free in the moment with whatever comes to us. To simply let ourselves have the freedom to experience that space. Breathe in that freedom. Breathe in that spaciousness. What happens with simply being present? Give ourselves permission to pay attention to how our bodies respond. Maybe if this is something we've done before and have practiced, there's an ease. Maybe if this is new, there's a tensing. Whatever it is, let us just be with that. Just as we can be with our heartbeat, moment by moment. Our heart beating in our chests, like the feel of breath coming in and through the nostrils and then back out. We simply let it be what it is. Now I'm going to introduce a suggestion, a sensation of gratitude being in the present. Being with what is. Like tasting a new treat. Just giving ourselves permission to notice all the flavors and the sensations. The salty or the sweet, the sour or the bitter. Just allow ourselves to savor it. Just as I offered the suggestion of the sensation of gratitude, I add an offering of the sensation of wonder. That rather than experiencing life as that same old, that this moment and this feeling and this thought is a new wonder to feel and think and behold. And that we might leap from moment to moment with anticipation and delight. The only thing stopping us is the old messages that have told us to sit down and be quiet. Don't be so excited. What if we replace those old messages with a yes to each new moment? This is what it is. When we dive into the depths of it, we let ourselves live in it fully. So hearing the sound of the heartbeat, paying attention to our breath, we once again turn our awareness to where we're sitting, or standing, or being. We let our consciousness and our attention expand. We come back to this moment. Open our eyes. And I say, and so it is. So today's reading comes from Anne Weiser Cornell, and it's called the radical acceptance of everything, and I hope that aligns with where Reverend Pamela is taking today's talk. It's what jumped out for me. So hopefully Spirit's jumping out at me was aligning with where Pamela was. So there are three key qualities to the aspects of the radical acceptance of everything. The first is something called the felt sense. The second is a special quality of engaged, accepting inner attention. And the third is this radical philosophy of what facilitates change. There's a special kind of body sensation called felt sense. A felt sense, to put it simply, is a body sensation that has meaning. You've certainly been aware of a felt sense at some times in your lives, and possibly you feel them often. So imagine being on the phone with someone you love who is far away, and you really miss that person. You get off the phone and you feel a heaviness in your chest, perhaps around your heart area. Or let's say you're sitting in a room full of people, and each person is going to take a turn to speak. And as the spring winds tighter and tighter, and it comes closer to you, you feel a tightness in your stomach. Or let's say you're taking a walk on a beautiful fresh morning, just after rain, and you come over a hill, and there you stand and gaze at it. You feel your chest welling up in an expansive, flowing, warm feeling. All of these are felt senses. If you're operating purely with emotions, then fear is fear. It's just fear, no more. But if you're operating on the felt sense level, this fear that you're feeling right now is different from the fear you felt yesterday. Maybe yesterday's fear was a cold rock in the stomach, and today's fear is a pulling back, a withdrawing. As you stay with today's fear, you start to sense something like a shy creature pulled back into a cave. You get the feeling that if you sit with it long enough, you might even find out the real reason that it's scared. A felt sense is often subtle, and as you pay attention to it, you discover that it is intricate. It has more to it. We have a vocabulary of emotions that we feel over and over and over again, but every felt sense is different. You can, however, start with an emotion and then feel the felt sense of it, as if you are feeling it in your body right now. The second aspect of the radical acceptance of everything is the special quality of engaged, accepting inner attention. After you become aware of your felt sense, then you bring to it this special quality of attention. One way I like to say this is you sit down to get to know it better. I like to call this quality interested curiosity. By bringing this interested curiosity into relationship with the felt sense, you are opening to sensing that which is there, but not yet in words. This process of sensing takes time. It's not instant. So ideally, there's a willingness to take the time, to wait, at the edge of not yet knowing what this is, patient, accepting, curious, and open. Slowly you sense more. This can be a bit like coming into a darkened room and sitting, and as your eyes get used to the lower light, you sense more. There's more there than you had before. You could also come into the room and then have rushed away, not caring to sense anything there. It is the caring to, the interest, the wanting to get to know it, that brings the further knowing. There is not a trying to not change anything. There is a no doing something or anything. In this sense, this process is very accepting. We accept that this felt sense is here just as is right now. We're interested in how it is. We want to know it just as it is. Now, the final piece is what aspect sets this radical acceptance of everything apart from everything else is the philosophy of what facilitates change. How do we change? How do we not change? If you are like many of the people who are drawn to this, you probably feel stuck or blocked in some or one or more areas of our lives. There is something about us, our circumstances, our feelings, our reactions, that we would like to change. This is all very natural, but let us now contrast two ways of approaching this wish to change. One way assumes that to have something change, you must make it change. You must do something. We can call this the doing, fighting way. The other way, which we can call the being, allowing way, assumes the change and the flow is a natural course of things. And when something seems not to change, what it needs is attention and awareness, with an attitude of allowing it to be simply as it is, yet open to its next steps. Our everyday lives are deeply permeated with the doing-fixing assumption. When you tell a friend about a problem, how often is their response to give you advice about fixing the problem? Many of our modern therapy methods carry this assumption as well. Cognitive therapy asks you to change your self-talk. Hypnotherapy often brings in new images and beliefs to replace the old ones. So the being allowing philosophy embodied in this radical acceptance turns around our usual expectations and ways of viewing the world. It's as if I were to say to you that this chair you are sitting on would like to become an elephant. And if you will just give it interested attention, it will begin to transform. What a wild idea! Yet, that is how wild it sounds to some deeply ingrained part of ourselves when we are told that a fear that we have might transform into something which is not at all fear, if given interested attention. And so it is. And the Vaughn Show continues. Here is this month's chant, which I think most of you have heard. The first verse is, I've heard that my faith can move mountains, and mountains all touch the sky. I have heard of angels in clouds up above, and the heavens hovering high. So I raise my eyes to the sky up above. I look to the birds as they fly. I lift my attention to focus on love, and spirit within satisfies. Yes, spirit within satisfies. I've heard my faith can move mountains, and mountains all touch the sky. I've heard of angels in clouds up above, and the heavens hovering high. So I raise my eyes to the sky up above. I look to the birds as they fly. I lift my attention to focus on love, and spirit within satisfies. Yes, spirit within satisfies. Now the second time is you. You heard your faith can move mountains, and mountains all touch the sky. You heard of angels in clouds up above, and the heavens hovering high. So you raise your eyes to the sky up above. You look to the birds as they fly. You lift your attention to focus on love, and spirit within satisfies. Yes, spirit within satisfies. And third verse is we. We've heard our faith can move mountains, and mountains all touch the sky. We've heard of angels in clouds up above, and the heavens hovering high. So we raise our eyes to the sky up above. We lift our birds as they fly. We lift our attention to focus on love, and spirit within satisfies. Yes, spirit within satisfies. And back to I, so we're all taking it home. I've heard my faith can move mountains, and mountains all touch the sky. I've heard of angels in clouds up above, and the heavens hovering high. So I raise my eyes to the sky up above. I look to the birds as they fly. I lift my attention to focus on love, and spirit within satisfies. Yes, spirit within satisfies.
Look around and everything you see is merely an outpicturing of what's going on inside your consciousness. If you don't like what you see, change your mind and your belief. Keep what's working for you and throw out the rest. Now easy is the other side of tough, and smooth is the other side of rough, and down is just the other side of rough. And it's all the same stuff. Since God is all there is to see, what else will anything else be? It's all the same stuff. Trying to get mystical, scientific, or psychological. I'm just stating the plain and simple case. Whatever we think most about seems to always come about and end up staring us right in the face. Now easy's the other side of tough, and smooth is the other side of rough, and down is just the other side of rough. And it's all the same stuff. Since God is all there is to see, what else could anything else be? It's all the same stuff. You're free to rearrange it any way you want.
Thank you, Reverend Michael, and thank you, Reverend Vaughn, for that very thought-provoking reading. And I love the latest chant because I can harmonize so much easily with it, and it's great. Hello, Northern Lights. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome back to my sister. I got to go vicariously on her international trip to Italy. It was hard at times because she was having so much fun and eating all this delicious food, and she didn't gain any weight, but I did for her. Thank you, sis. And Sherry, it's good to see you. And Facebook, whoever's out there, hi, how you doing? So, it's all the same stuff. Meaning that everything is created from one source. And I'm going to be honest and tell you that when I look around the world and when I see what's happening to people in our world itself and the way people treat each other and the latest stuff in the news and the shall we or shan't we be vaccinated, I look at all of that and I'm like, it's all the same stuff. But what do I do with that stuff? We could talk a while about that. But I'm going to say, okay, intellectually I understand it's all the same stuff. Emotionally, I have been challenged up till now and possibly later. So I was thinking this morning, my talk is about when the road gets rocky. I'm going to do a cut to the chase because I'm in a spiritual community where I can mention the G word, you know, G-O-D, that word. Meaning this power, this intelligence that's actually involved in the whole show. And what we have along with being a part of that intelligence is choice. We can make choices. We're not automatons being directed by this force. We are being allowed, and frankly, that's why there's so much stuff in this stuff. It's because we get to be allowed to make decisions and do what we want regardless of the benefit or not to others. Back when I was a teenager, I was being raised in a traditional Baptist church, and it was very clear about good and bad and right and wrong and what have you. And then one day a fellow teenager, whose family I knew well, this teenager committed suicide. It was his first year in college. It was at the end of the year. And when we heard about it, we were all shocked because he was the model son of this family. He was the oldest son of this family. Everyone said, look to this son of the family. He is this, and this, and he was, and he committed suicide. The family were good people. So in my teenage mind, with my teenage teachings at that church, I said, why did something so awful happen to good people? Are they not good people? We thought they were good people, but they must not have been good people, or that wouldn't have happened to them. That was not the truth. Those good people also suffered other losses. And other families, some of which were good people and some of which I kind of looked squinty-eyed at, also had unexplained or terrible losses within their family that made me rethink about what happens to people and why. So we're in a philosophy that says we create our own experience. And we actually do to a certain extent. And there's stuff beyond what we know. Like it all being the same stuff, but the world is in turmoil. The entire world is in turmoil. Between the pandemic and the wars and the economies of various nations, including our own, and the politics, we're in turmoil. That is not good stuff. That's just stuff. But what do we do with it? How do we deal with it? We're on that rocky road. how do we deal with it? Some of it just is what it is. Some of it we can't fix. We can't reach out and fix. But there's frequently, I have noticed, in talking to people and listening to people, that there's stuff right in our own backyard we actually have some control over. And we may not be working with that. There's stuff right inside ourselves that we have some control over. How we speak to other people, how we treat other people, how we treat ourselves. We have control over some of that. Maybe a lot of it. It's all in how we handle it. I was listening this week to two people who were exhibiting their degrees, their master's degrees from MSU. The College of Making Stuff Up. Somebody was really upset with somebody who told him she didn't want to be on the email list. You know about those email lists. Not email lists, no, it's worse. It's a text list. Oh, God almighty, you know, the family or the friends who put you on the 27 people text list, and they're saying, yes, and what is you, yes, we do this, it's good. And it drives you crazy.
Amen.
Well, you know, you can just ignore it. When I get tired of the long text lists, I just push them and then push it again so I don't have to see the pop-ups. I don't read all that stuff till I have time. But anyway, this person's sister got very upset about being on this text list and sent my friend a little note that said, take me off this crap, I don't have time for this, I don't need to know this, just take me off. And my friend got very upset and went up, what is it, the English call it going up the garden path. It means you lost your mind. That's what, I just love the euphemism for it. They just went up the garden path. Lost their mind. Well, this person is going up the garden path. And she this, and she that, and she this, and she that. And I looked at it and I thought, he's just making stuff up. Just making stuff up. Now, in that making stuff up, one could make up something else. One could say, she's under a lot of pressure. One could say, she's not having a good day. Obviously not. One could say, her meds aren't working. I don't know if she's on meds or not, but if you're going to make stuff up, you can make that up. One could say, everything is folding in on her and she's just not able to cope, and these texts are. But my friend didn't. He went up another making stuff up path, up another garden path, and he's still annoyed with her. She doesn't know he's annoyed with her, because I wouldn't let him send the text to tell him he's annoyed with us, and you're not doing that. That's not fair. Don't do that. Because what little I know of her emotional bandwidth right now is narrow. There are reasons for that. Leave her alone. Take her off the list. Not that big a deal. But there he was making stuff up, and he's still mad. So he's still mad. What's it doing to her? Nada. Nothing. It's doing it all to him. But I'm going to jump ahead on my talk here. I let it go. Because sometimes I ask myself, what is mine to do? I said my little bit. She probably has things she's trying to handle that are not working for her right now. Just take her off. I said that. He's still mad. It's on him. Not my table. Not mine to take care of. And you know, so we have the spiritual book, but here's the practical stuff. People are never mad about what they're telling you they're mad about. They never are. They'll take that text and have a conniption fit, but that's not what is upsetting them. And in Reverend Vaughn's reading, I heard, and I can't quote what you said because I was busy taking all of that in. That was a lot to take in. But we have these issues about something, and we'll talk about this over here. Oh, the text message. When it really is, and I suspect, but I can't tell all this person's business, I have a feeling that I actually know what the real issue is, or a deeper layer of the issue. So when somebody's having a fit about something, the first thing that will give you the indication that it's really not about that is when their reaction is disproportionate to the action. Somebody drops a pencil and somebody goes up the garden path. Not about the pencil. About something that represented, or something that reminded them of, or something they've been holding on to, about whoever dropped the pencil. It's not about the pencil. So frequently, however, we take it, again on the practical level, at face value and try to fix that particular issue, when that's not the issue, so it's not fixed. So why am I saying all of that? Because I'm saying that for ourselves, when we're on that rocky road, or we're on the way up the garden path, having a fit over something minor, we need to stop. Take a breath. Something in Reverend Vaughn's reading, go deeper. I forgot how you got there, but I remember you got there. Go a little deeper. What is this really about for me? For me. Because guess what? Me is the only person I can actually control, and sometimes that's questionable. Don't we all know that? We know that. What is this about? Why am I reacting to this? Go a little deeper, and then maybe you'll find the truth for yourselves. Ideally, we'll find the truth for ourselves, or we'll at least get deeper than the dropping of the pencil to know what's going on for us. So back to bad things happening to good people. Every now and then, I've seen a glimpse of karma. You know, karma, things that are, what you put out there comes back to you. We have that. We don't call it karma in science of mind. We just say that what we put out there, energy, but it's the same idea. What you put out in the world comes back to you. And I learned that it comes back, but it doesn't actually necessarily look like what I put out. And especially if I'm putting out unconsciously, then I may not even know why all of this is coming back at me. But I think my best example of what I put out coming back, I was a dancer in California a few years ago, like over 20. And we were doing a concert, and my process for getting prepared for concerts is, at the point that we were in our theater to perform, I would take 5 to 10 minutes to just meditate. This was before science of mind. Just calm myself, just be with all of it. And then we had a girlfriend over here, this particular show, who wanted to rehearse one more time. And my dance teacher had a process. She worked us to bits and pieces. We had late night up to midnight rehearsals. The week of the concert in particular, we worked all semester on it, but the week of the concert, late night, up to midnight rehearsals, and then she let it go. So on performance day, we did not rehearse, and girlfriend wanted to rehearse. Now, if we go a little deeper, I'll let you know that girlfriend got on my nerves all the time for a number of reasons, but I never shared that with her. I kept it all inside. And she was poking me, Pamela, come rehearse with us. I was like, no, this is what I do. Pamela, come. No, there's 5 5 of you, you can dance without me in the rehearsal. No, we need you. So I'm not proud of this, but I am amused. I said, if you touch me one more time, I will knock your teeth down your throat. Now, I had not been in a physical fight since I was 11 years old. But really, girlfriend was in trouble. She was going to be dancing with a bruised eye. Yes, she was. Well, one of her dancers heard me say that. She dashed and she got the dance director, who came flying down and said, both of you, stop it. But she was too through with me. You were gonna hit Ellen. Yes. Ellen deserves it for a number of reasons. Anyway, so fast forward to me working in a corporation, and I am choreographing this grand event that was pantomiming and dancing and karaokeing and all of this stuff, and 2 of my dancers were in the same place I had been with girlfriend. They were nose to nose and shoulder to shoulder, and somebody was going to hit somebody, and I pulled them apart. And then I called my dance teacher that evening because we had one more day of rehearsal, and I said, "Oh my God, Deborah, blah, 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 blah." And she said, and this is how she would look. And she said, "It serves you right." I was like, yeah, it does. Now just tell me what to do. And she said, "You just let them know you're the boss." I was like, oh. And that if they have an issue, they come to you, they don't come to each other. Like, oh, that's what I did. It all worked out. But that was an interesting piece of karma. It was really clear. It was not even like, gee, why is this happening to me? I was like, I know why this is happening to me. I totally know. So, in my experience, it does come back, and I have seen it come back to other people, but that's just one level of it. When you're seeing these things come back to you and you don't understand, you can stop back and say, what have I to do with this? I find that folks don't want to go there. I'm a life coach. They don't want to go there. They don't want to go there. And frequently they don't go there. I don't take it personally on my coaching because it's not mine to do. I put it out there. My clients can say, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I'll think about that. Or they can continue to say, no, so-and-so is a horse's patootie. I encourage us all, however, when we are pointing fingers at horses' patooties, that we kind of drop that pose and think, what have I got to do with it? And if we don't know, ask. Ask the patootie, the horse's patootie, or go deeper in ourselves. Because that's a rocky road to be on if we're going to stick to it. Now, interestingly enough, Vaughn was wondering if his reading would match my talk. Well, it went deeper and further. But in one of the things it mentioned was the should. Wasn't there should in there?
Yes.
It was a should. There was a should. There not only was a should in his talk, but on the radio coming in today, I chose to listen to whatever was on the radio instead of my music or something. Something said, listen, and she was talking about shoulds and how people should all over each other and themselves. And there's a saying, I won't should on you if you don't should on me. But there's these shoulds. Going back, one of my clients has a litany. That means a long list of shoulds. People should this, and people should that, and you should this, and they should that, and we should this. And when her shoulds aren't apparent or happening in her life, she gets all should out of shape. Oh my goodness, she goes on. And it's really hard to let go of the shoulds. And you know, those shoulds are like a finger pointing in your face. Should. Oh my goodness. Again this week I was listening to one of my favorite people talk about what somebody else should do. And I was like, you know, they should do whatever they want to do. They're the boss of them. You're not. Should. And just like with my friend, should, all it does is give you an upset stomach. It just makes life more difficult than it needs to be. It puts you on a rocky road that you can actually get off of, should you decide to release the should. And just let it be. Let it be what it is. It is what it is. It just is what it is. If we can at least get to that place, it is what it is. It's better for us. It may or may not change anything. Again, in Reverend Vaughn's reading, I believe there was a piece that said, once you let go and allow, yeah, it was in there, you know, life is just a little easier. Now, there are some things we can't let go of, and we should fight for. There's a should, sometimes a should is appropriate. But we need to be conscious of what shoulds we're choosing to embrace. So, when the road gets rocky, we got God. I can say the G word because I'm in a spiritual center. But you know what I mean. I like God because it's easy and it's short. But I'm finding that when I intentionally lean into the recognition that I have a power, that I have access to a power that is bigger than I am and everything else, I got access to it. And if I just lean into that, things kind of work themselves out in one way or another. They may not work out the way I think they should, or they might. They might. But there is this power to leaning into the power that is the creator of all that there is. There is that power. When I think about Nelson Mandela and how many years he spent in prison and who he was when he came out, he was a beautiful soul. He had leaned into the power no matter what they did to him. And you know they did stuff to him. I personally know Angela Davis. I met her after all her trials and tribulations. I read about it in her book. And I could not believe that the woman I met after that was the same woman who went through it, because she was and remains to the very last time I saw her, sweet and kind and compassionate. She was careful, a little bit cautious, just a little bit, but there was no bitterness, no hatred, no vengeance, there was not that in who she was. And after reading what had happened to her, I couldn't believe she wasn't standing out on the corner saying, kill the pigs. But she wasn't. She was living her life. I met her in a dance class. She was trying to dance. She has a sister who's a ballerina. And I thought, after what she's gone through, she's somebody I actually see eye to eye, who's been through a really rocky road, and she's come out with a clear energy. We can do this. This is what we can control if we choose to do so. I admit that there have been times when I've been on that road and it was bad, and I was not doing well with it, and I forgot I had God. In fact, I wasn't even sure there was one once in one of those experiences. And from time to time, I can get caught up. But if I take a time out, sit down, go for a walk, listen to music, paint. Painting is my passion. If I do something that shifts me away from what it is that I'm battling with, I start to remember, let it go. I start to remember there's a power that's beyond me that I can call on, that I can lean into, like that song in my mama's Baptist church, leaning on the everlasting arm. It's always there. You don't lean, it's not there, and you fall over. It's always there. I just lean into what I know to be the truth, regardless of what I'm seeing in front of me. And I move myself to a higher level of how I want to be and who I want to be. Clarity comes, calmness comes, peace comes. So just chill. I know it's easier said than done, but when you find yourself going, take a breath, step back, have a little conversate with yourself. What is the truth here? What do I know? What is it I'm fighting? Where is my should? Where is my fear? What's going on here? Take a breath. Allow the wisdom to come to you. Discover what is yours to do. And there you go. So have some compassion for yourself. Have some compassion for others. Allow yourself to open up, to figure out, see, get a glimpse of this bigger picture. It's not all about me, but I'm an important part of it. And so are you. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Reverend Pamela. Very interesting. Of course, I always take notes every Sunday because I have to. So certain things strike me, and I want to remember. I have to write them down. And one of the biggest things that is the idea that what I'm or someone else is upset about is really, really deep down inside not what I'm upset about. I can attest to that very, very much so, because it's these little things that just trigger that deeper thing that is I'm angry about or I'm upset about. So thank you for your talk today. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. For those out in Facebook land, the Zoom people, and the people in the room, I thank you for your support in my growth and in forming a community that supports me as I attempt and try to support each of you. So I give thanks for that. And I give thanks for the idea that Reverend Pamela said of leaning into God, as you could say it, or leaning into whoever or whatever supports you. Whatever spiritual avenue you need to go down to support yourself, you need to do that for yourself. Because in my opinion,
We aren't any good to anyone else unless we take care of ourselves first. So I give thanks for each of you in that support. And if you care to support the Northern Lights Spiritual Center here, we do have a website, which is northernlightspiritualcenter.com, and you can donate through that. And I also want to thank you for your support in all the ways you give. Just by being present is support. And so with that, I would just like to give thanks for this day. Give thanks for each person in my life, which is you, for each person that has supported Northern Lights Spiritual Center in whatever way, shape, or form you have. And I give thanks for being given the knowledge to, and the suggestion of leaning into my support, whether that is God, whether that is a friend, whether a lover, whatever that may be, whoever that may be. So I give thanks for that support that each and every one of us receive, and that each and every one of us give to one another. I know that this is all good, and so it is.